Motor Mayhem is a vehicular combat game that was developed by Beyond Games and published by Infogrames for the PlayStation 2 in 2001. And this would take a very different approach to your typical car games, as it would be heavily inspired by the iconic Twisted Metal games that would have been seen on the PlayStation 1, that is set in arena-based environments with the entire goal to survive but also to destroy your opponents throughout each of the stages that you will play in the game. The game itself has a very futuristic style and vibe to it that allows players to directly customize various aesthetics of the vehicles, change the controls, and also to allow you to unlock additional vehicles, weapons, elements, and even other arenas to race and compete against in various tournaments and gameplay modes. And you also have access to a multiplayer mode so that you can play against your mates. So the goal of the game, especially in the tournament modes, is to finish not just the race but to be the last man standing and to destroy every other vehicle within the arena, while also trying to achieve the highest target score possible that will allow you to progress and also allow you to unlock additional vehicles, weapons and tracks in the game. The game would receive mixed to average reviews among magazines, stating that although they liked the gameplay aesthetics and the combat elements, it just wouldn't have been as refined, or it just definitely wouldn't have been as popularized or considered to be as popular when you compare it to the likes of the earlier Twisted Metal games, especially the first two games in the series way back on the PS1, because during that point in the PlayStation 1's life cycle, vehicular combat games were very, very popular. By the time of the PlayStation 2 era, vehicular combat games had started to decline in popularity. While there was a variety of games similar to it that were available, they just didn't hit that mass appeal of games of old. And considering with the likes of even the Twisted Metal series, while there was a number of entries in the series, the first two games are highly regarded to be the best of any type of vehicular combat game ever created, especially the second one, as it's considered to be the best car combat game of all time, and quite rightly so, because I played it back in the day and I absolutely loved it. It's such a good game, one of the best multiplayer games also that I've ever played. So where does this stack up amongst the multitude of car combat games? Like, it does present a really good, solid and challenging experience, but I will admit it's not an easy game to pick up and play. But as with many of these games are not meant to be like that at all, because they add a whole different dynamic to the car racing element, as you also have to utilize weapons and explosives to take out opponents. So there's definitely a lot more skill and tactical style that's involved, but it also requires and relies heavily on luck to ensure that you win or achieve victory in the levels to progress. But it really just boils down to your own play style and your own time that you put into it. While it is a decent game in its own right, it just fails to meet the mark with regards to many other titles seen on the PlayStation or even the previous generations at the time. But it does offer up a unique challenge. If you genuinely are into car combat style games, this is one of those games that you could check out. It does have plenty on offer here, but plenty of game modes and elements to unlock, but it just probably wouldn't be for everybody. And again, it was coming at a time when vehicular combat games were starting to decline also. But it is a fun game all the same to play with your mates regardless, but it can be a bit on the clunky side, and if you're playing against the computer itself, it can be a bit repetitive because they can be overly aggressive, which can sometimes hamper the experience. But it really just depends on your own interests at the end of the day. But I would love to know your thoughts on Motor Mayhem for the PlayStation 2, and what did you think of this game overall, or do you enjoy car combat games in general, and if so, what do you think of it overall? I'd love to hear whatever stories you do have of this game, so be sure to share it down in the comments below. If you have enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to be updated of future videos. And if you would like to see more content on the channel around other types of car combat games also seen on the PS2, you can check out the playlist here on the screen to see more of those games in action. And I will see you all in the next one.